Բարև ձեզ։ Այսօր տաղավարում հյուրընկալել եմ ֆրանս-ամերիկյան ինժեներական ընկերության Dassault Systemsի գլոբալ գործընկերների ղեկավար Andre Kouyoumdjianին. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Mr. Kouyoumdjian.
Thank you very much for having me.
Several years ago, you visited Armenia for the first time. What happened during your first visit that moved you to help Armenia to position this country as a serious player in one of the world's most competitive industries, engineering?
Sure. Well, a lot of things happened, right? To even get me to Armenia in 2021. But when I did get here, I saw that there was this raw talent of engineers, but there wasn't any mechanism to really get them into the global market, right? So you had some incredible talented mechanical engineers in Armenia, but they were leaving school and they were doing other jobs, not being engineers anymore. And I think because the market wasn't providing them with the opportunity to really take that career and take it to the next level. And so that's my initial visit here. That's kind of what I saw. And so I wanted to, that really got me motivated to make a change here in Armenia.
And what was your long-term vision about making Armenia being successful in this field?
Yeah, so in order to understand my long-term vision, we got to understand where we're coming from as Armenians. If you look at Armenian history, we have invented some of the most technological, earth-shattering type of things, right? If you look at our history, we've invented a lot of amazing technology and equipment that has changed humanity, right? Take the most simple one out of all of them, right? Something like an automatic coffee machine, right? Everyone loves that, right? Everyone needs their coffee, but then you take it to the next level. What about the MRI machine, right? That saves lives, right? And then there's so many other things in between. And, you have to understand our history to understand what the future is going to be. So I want to be able to bring Armenia back to where it used to be when it was a forefront of innovation, right? The Armenian minds on the engineering scale throughout history were some of the top. And so I want that to be the same thing again. I want to bring that back to Armenia.
And what are the concrete steps for this, and how do you envision building a sustainable ecosystem that supports both global innovation and global networks?
That's a great question. So I think you have to start with education, right? People can come here and open up businesses, right? And that's fine. But how are you going to find the talent? How are you going to find the next generation of engineers that will stay in Armenia and work in Armenia? And so my first step when I first got here was visiting all the schools. I wanted to see how were they teaching their current engineers and what were they doing and learning in order to become competitive in the global market. And so my focus for the last 4.5 years, has been strictly on education. I want to make sure that all of the universities, even the younger schools, high school, middle school, elementary school, I want those kids learning how to use the latest and greatest technology so that when they do graduate from university, they are at the top of the world when it comes to their ability to be competitive in the global market.
Also, as I know, you help Armenian engineers to work with international markets while continuing to live and thrive in Armenia. How do you do that?
So that was a partnership. To give you a little bit of background, what I do at Dassault Systems is I work with the world's largest corporations that use SolidWorks, right? And so what I see from them is their investment into countries like China and India and Singapore, where they're opening up offices and they're hiring hundreds of mechanical engineers to work for their organizations. And so the way we want to keep the Armenian talent in Armenia to build this ecosystem is, first, we need to make sure that all of the kids graduating from school are being certified properly in using SolidWorks. Then the market will bring itself here. So then when I'm meeting with some of these large corporations and I'm seeing where they're investing, Armenia will all of a sudden become an area where they want to make an investment, where they want to come and open up an office and hire 50 engineers, hire 100 engineers. And then what that does is it creates a huge market for all these kids that are graduating from university to have amazing jobs, right? Great salaries and some opportunities to really be part of the global market.
Talking about SolidWorks in details, you started your journey with SolidWorks at the age of 18, and you have been part of it for more than 2 decades. What did it mean to you, professionally and personally, to bring this journey full circle and establish a SolidWorks presence in Armenia?
It means a lot. It was at a very young age when I started at SolidWorks, I wasn't an engineer, right? So I got a job at SolidWorks just working in the warehouse, moving furniture as a young kid. But as I grew into my sales role at SolidWorks, I got to learn a lot about the way SolidWorks impacts the entire world. Everything you see around me, around you, these cameras, these chairs, this desk, that screen, it's all designed in some sort of 3D CAD tool. Most likely it's designed in SolidWorks because it's the market leader. And so my passion started to grow as I spent more years at SolidWorks and got to learn, you know, how incredible the software is and how much it impacts humanity. And so, you know, I wanted to get involved and bring that, you know, back to Armenia the way that I knew how, right? And so that was for me, you know, it was making sure that, you know, I learned as much as I could at SolidWorks, right? I got my career established at SolidWorks, and then when the opportunity presented itself, I wanted to take, you know, advantage of that.
And for those less familiar, why SolidWorks is considered such a game changer in the field of engineering and design?
So it's the global leader, right? When you look at all of the other tools that are available for mechanical engineering and 3D CAD, it is the global leader. So there's over 8 million users globally. It's over 150 countries. You're talking about you know, tens of thousands of organizations, educational organizations all across the world that teach it. The world's largest organizations, companies, use it to design their products. Everything from airplanes like Boeing, Airbus, to trains, to cars, and like I said, to things like this desk and this chair. So it's everywhere. And so it's a huge marketplace. So that's why I feel it's very important for Armenia to take that and make it as part of their curriculum, because it is so widely used around the world. Once a student learns how to use SolidWorks, his ability or her ability to be able to find a job increases tenfold, because every company out there is looking for someone that knows how to use SolidWorks. And if you graduate from school with a certification, that immediately puts you at the top of the list of being able to get a job in mechanical engineering.
And as I understood, maybe because of this reason, also you started collaborating with educational institutions in Armenia. What are your impressions about this collaboration, and how you envision further strengthening kids' skills and also future engineers' skills?
Yeah, so it's the collaboration so far has been wonderful. I've been able to visit schools all across Armenia. I mean everywhere, right? We've gone all across the country and visited schools from very young kids all the way up to all the universities. There's more work to be done. We've just started, right? So last year we converted a few of the schools to start teaching SolidWorks as part of their curriculum, but that's not enough. We need to convert all of the universities. All the universities need to start understanding that this tool is what separates an engineer in the global market, right? Companies are looking for this specific skill set. And so we need to provide that to the students so that they can find jobs and stay in that field when they graduate. And that honestly has to start at a younger age too. So my visit here, I've started to speak to some of the after-school programs that we have in Armenia, and like the high schools and middle schools, because you can start learning, you know, how to design and how to work with these types of tools at a very young age, because that's happening all across the world.
How did they perceive this change from you?
It's difficult. It's difficult because you're asking people to change their, you know, what they're used to, right? And that's a difficult thing to do. But so far, I have to be honest, it's been refreshing to see the deans of these schools, the professors, really be interested and want to take part.
So they were ready to.
They were, but there was the thing. Then the problem I think in the past was there was no representation here for SolidWorks. It was from other countries, and I don't think they really cared about growing the ecosystem in Armenia. They were concentrated more on their countries, right? And so now that we've got representation inside of Armenia, right, I think that's what's changed the landscape. And I think that's why the schools are more interested in working with a company like Dassault Systems and Engineer X to make sure that, you know, they get the right software, the right curriculum, and teach the kids the right tools.
And what are the initiatives, specific initiatives that you have organized for collaboration with universities and also schools, for students, for school children?
So there's many things that we're doing. For example, when Polytechnic brought on SolidWorks, my friend's company, Engineer X, the reseller here in Armenia, they went and they trained their professors on how to use SolidWorks, how to how to teach it, right? So that at least they understood how to teach the kids, right? And so that was some partnership that we put together. And then what I'm specifically trying to do is I'm trying to bring that competitive spirit, right, to Armenia for the kids. So that's like one of the reasons why I'm here this time is because of the competition. So across the world, there's global student competitions that SolidWorks is a part of. I would love for Armenia to be a part of those global competitions in the future. And so we have to start small, though, and get people used to that. And so that's why we're starting with this competition that is just, you know, for Armenia itself.
That was Pan-Armenian Student Engineering Competition, as I know. It's titled The Evolution of the Armenian Engineering Field. How did you choose this title and what inspired this initiative?
So how we choose a title, I think, was just we were throwing some names around and I think we just kind of came up with something that fit. But why we chose the initiative is now that we've got some of the universities teaching SolidWorks, we wanted to then start getting the students to be involved in some sort of competitive, way of showing their talent, right? And so that's how the competition came about. It's important. It's important for the kids to learn how to properly use the software, how to properly bring drawings, for example, right? Because in order for them to be competitive in the global market, they have to understand that it's not just how to use the software, right? It's understanding everything that's around it, how to ask the right questions, how to do your research, right? How to prepare the product that you are designing to make sure it's manufacturable, to make sure it's sustainable. And so our competition, we made sure we put all kinds of parameters around the competition to really push the kids to think outside the box and to come up with some designs that were creative. And I'll be honest with you, I was looking at them yesterday. There's some really creative designs that the kids came up with. It was impressive.
So it was organized both for school children and students?
It was designed mostly for students at the college level.
How many students?
We had, I want to say just over 60 registrations of students, 17 teams. I want to say 4 of the teams were all girls, which was amazing, right? Because it's a unique thing. When you look across the world, the engineering field is male dominated, right? So to see that Armenia was able to bring 4 teams that were all girls was impressive. Then when you look at the total number, the majority of all the participants were actually girls too, which was incredible. So at the end, we had over 65 registrations, 17 teams, but we had, I want to say, 11, I believe it was 11 teams that actually, finished the project, and it was around 30 students out of those 11 teams.
So we can say also that you are breaking some stereotypes regarding gender in engineering.
Yes.
And when you speak to young Armenian students, when you meet them, what's your message? How do you speak to them? How do you want them to understand that the current efforts that they make now will affect their sustainable future and will make it like more powerful?
Great question. So I try to be positive, right? My message is always going to be from a positive intent. The world is it's a big place, and there's a lot going on all around you every single day. And so for kids, you don't want them to, you don't want their minds to kind of wander everywhere and think too much about what's happening today. You want them to really focus on tomorrow, right? And how what they're doing today is going to affect their lives 3 years from now, 5 years from now, right? You want them to build goals. Sometimes that's really hard to do, right? And it depends where you're living in the world. Sometimes it becomes even more difficult at what's going on around you. And so I try to bring that positive intent to the children and I try to tell them my story. I'm not from university. I didn't go to school and get a degree, right? I just worked really hard at a really young age, and I had dreams that I wanted to fulfill, right? And I put those dreams in front of me. I wrote them down. I knew what I wanted to do, and I worked really hard to get there. And so I think for the kids here in Armenia, I want them to have that same mentality. I want them to, one, help each other, right? Because it's a team effort, right? At the end of the day, in order for Armenia to become very successive in the engineering field, we need the kids to help each other to grow, push each other. That's what competition brings, right? When you see someone win something, you want that to be your motivating factor in order so you are on that stage the next year, right? But at the same time, you want to be happy for those kids, right? You want to encourage them and shake their hand and say, "Great job," right? Next year, I'm going to be up on that stage and I'm going to win that. So I try to bring some sort of positive message that helps them kind of understand that if they put hard work into what they're doing today, there will be opportunities for them in the future, right? It exists. And with SolidWorks, it's huge, right? I mean, like I said, every major company in the world is using SolidWorks. It's the #1 3D CAD tool in the world. So if you're graduating from school with the certification in SolidWorks, you will find success in the market.
Well, and summing up these results and also the fact that Armenia is now a reseller of SolidWorks and also the initiatives that you're organizing for students, for future specialists, how do you see the potential of Armenia to being a serious player in engineering?
It's there and it's going to happen. I see it, the raw talent of the children that I see today using the software. It's amazing. They're very smart kids. I think Armenians in general, I think our strongest natural resource is our brains. If you look throughout Armenian history, right? I mean, think about all the things that Armenians have been a part of that the world understands and knows of when it comes to music, art, again, engineering, right? Medicine. So it's in our DNA. And so when I see these kids and I see the way they're using the tool and how quickly they learn how to use these tools, I have no doubt that Armenia in the next 10 years will be one of the main focal points of companies to come and bring their engineering offices to this country.
And are there also any other successful stories from current specialists that they are already started working with international markets by the help of SolidWorks?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at Engineer X, right, Vahe's business, I mean, they themselves have done an amazing job with their interns that they've brought in, right, and then hired afterwards, right, and then those interns are now working in the global market, right, and so they're out there, they're doing projects for companies all over the world. And working on some really big projects. And so, yeah, there are definitely success stories already. But the reality is it's going to take some time, right? It's one of those situations where it's like, they say in America, you have to crawl, walk, and then run. So we're in that crawl, walk phase right now with Armenia. So as these students are graduating, more companies are going to be coming here and investing, right, in those students and in those careers. And then that will eventually make its way back to the global market. It's the same with software engineering. If you look at the software engineering ecosystem in Armenia, same thing happened, right? If you go back 10, 15 years, that ecosystem slowly started to grow, right? Because the schools were teaching software development. And then now look at Armenia when it comes to software development. You've got tons of big companies that are investing money here, right, to hire software developers. We want that same type of system to be brought in for mechanical engineering.
I know you are coming from Boston, Mr. Kouyoumdjian. As someone deeply connected to both Armenia and diaspora, how do you think that other diasporans living in different countries should invest their potential, their professionalism into Armenia, and also make some initiatives that you are making?
So the diaspora, when you, especially in America, when you talk to other Armenians, they really want to be a part of helping Armenia grow. And so I'll give you an example. With this competition, we had companies in America that are Armenian owned reach out to us and want to be a part of it, right? And so that thirst for helping is there. And so we just need to be able to open up the avenue to show them how they can be involved. And then companies from all over the industries. It doesn't have to be necessarily just engineering. It can be throughout any industry. Once they see that there's an ability to have success in Armenia and that the talent is here, they just have to be able to make that investment to start it. I have no doubt that'll happen. Look at what Vahe has done, right, with his investment here in Armenia. All of those students that are coming through his organization from internship to being full-time engineers, that's going to change the ecosystem of Armenia. And I think other companies will see that and they'll come in and do the same thing.
Thank you for the interview and wish you success in your next steps.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Հարգելի հեռուստադիտողներ, հիշեցնեմ, որ ես զրուցում էի ֆրանս-ամերիկյան ինժեներական ընկերության Dassault Systemsի գլոբալ գործընկերների ղեկավար Andre Kouyoumdjiani հետ։ Կհանդիպենք։